It says we are on live, but I don't see it.
Yep.
There it is. I see it. We're live, guys.
Continue talking to.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, and we'll just wait for our audience to join. Today is a special day. It's a GivingTuesday, as everybody know. We have some new faces, but at least 3 of us, you guys see us regularly every week. And I know our audience are familiar with Ayantu. Maybe not with Alyssa. So we will kind of start from introduction, and then we will start our conversation. But for about 30 seconds to a minute, we'll just let our audience join. Until then, we'll just wait about 30 seconds, and then we'll get it started with introductions. All right, we have sufficient people has already joined our live conversation. Really, today's Giving Tuesday, but we will be talking about what we've been doing throughout the year to 2021, since the year is almost over, and then we will also talk about a little bit about what we're going to be doing in the future, any of our plans, and also we'll talk about other things all that related. And while we're doing that, our audience, we expect, since it's a Giving Tuesday, we expect if we have a list of people donating, also we can shout out their names as they donate. Sena, if we have that list, Ayantu, we can produce that. We'll start by introducing ourselves. I'll start from myself. I'm Tisho. You guys see me every Wednesday on All Our page, so Tisho is, I think, enough introduction from me. I'll pass it to Sena. Sena will pass it to whoever she like, and we'll introduce ourselves any way we like. So, Sena, to you next.
Thank you so much, T. I think we have lots of audience already joined in today. It seems like everybody is excited. And I'm glad you mentioned that today is a Giving Tuesday. And so we just kind of invite some of our staff, some of our advisors, some of our members from the board side, as well as on the other side. And the very special guest we have today that a lot of people you guys don't know for the first time will be Alyssa. She will introduce herself and she can talk a little bit about what she does. But I want to take a few minutes, T, to say a little bit about how we should do this. Since you and I, we agreed to kind of co-host this thing. Why is it important that there's hundreds of people who watch right now? Almost 200 people that I see is watching, 193 to be exact, is watching. And over 99% of our work is behind the scene. And all of this is made possible because of the donors, because of our member who give us, $5 every month. We put that together to make this work possible, whether it's from Europe, whether from Africa. We do all this possible because of that. So I wanted to remind our audience, please share this video. I don't often say like share my video, because I'm not like share. You see on Facebook and like share, share, right? Are you? So I think share this page for us. There's another segment with a board member. We're gonna appear tonight. He hopefully will join us for tonight as well. Those are with our ATF or task force group, who have been really invisible behind the scene, really helping us. So what we want to do is we want to have a conversation. So if people have a question, they can write it. It'll be a good time that we can answer. But in between conversation, what, like the things that we do is like people do not understand how much we work. People don't know the endless letters that we write to UN, we write to US government. When the Secretary of State makes statement, he doesn't say anything about Oromo. What we do when a special envoy goes to Ethiopia, he doesn't visit Ethiopia. What we do when UN makes a mistake of leaving out Oromos, what we do reaching out to Red Cross organization, endless organization we reach out to, what we do. And then I also wanted to end with that. We want to kind of mix Afan Oromo, because I know a lot of our audience, a lot of our core supporters are Afan Oromo speaker. I think we'll go back and forth. So what I would do is I'll just give Alyssa a chance to introduce, and then from Alyssa, I think we can go. Or she can call whoever she wants to call, and then we'll go back to T. I think we'll just have fun like that. But Alyssa, since this is your first time, it's like so please relax. We'll just please you've done an amazing thing, and I don't even mind if it's possible. You could just Facebook brought Alyssa's last name. Are you? We were trying to keep Alyssa's last name, but that's fine. It is what it is right now. So Alyssa is obviously a law graduate from I think Columbia, from Harvard, and she have done a lot of work in Africa. So if you don't mind, Alyssa, if you could tell us also, I know this is unplanned, but like your passion, because your colleagues work in for law firms, but you've done a lot of work in Kenya, in I think another country too. When you were, I guess maybe college undergrad or maybe high school, I don't know. But tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll come back, and I think we'll go from there. I'm done. I'll stop talking.
Okay, great. Thank you, Senna. Yes, I'm very happy to talk a bit about my background and introduce myself and the work of OLA as a whole. So as Senna said, my name is Alyssa Oravec, and I manage the advocacy team here at OLA. I'm relatively new to the organization. I've been here for just over 2 months now, but I think that it's a really great organization that does really good work and really works to advance the rights of a group of people who've had a hard time getting the national and international attention to their cause that they deserve. So a bit about my background. I am originally from Louisiana in the United States, but I moved abroad just following undergrad to work with the Peace Corps in Zambia, doing grassroots level development work. And I stayed in Zambia for about 4 years. And it was while I was in Zambia that I really got exposed to the language and conception of international human rights and really became interested in doing human rights advocacy. I've always had a particular interest in Africa, and that continued throughout my time in law school, where I did internships focused in Zimbabwe and in Kenya. I also went to Ghana for a short-term project there, and then I also worked on clinical projects related to human rights in Africa as well. Following law school, I worked in women's rights for a year, and then I worked for a broader human rights organization for another year that worked on genocide and Holocaust prevention. And yeah, I went to law school specifically to do human rights advocacy because I really believe in advancing people's human rights, and I think it is what we all should be doing. So yeah, I use my knowledge of the law and the language of the law to advocate for people's rights with key decision makers.
I'll just jump in though before you finish. You see why we're doing so good, T? Do you see why we're doing so amazing? Look at our team, But anyway, sorry I cut you. Go ahead. Let's continue, and you can feel free to call next person if you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's about all of my background. I did go to Harvard Law, Senna, just because you weren't quite sure. And then, yeah, while I'm here, as I said, manage the advocacy team, and most of our work is focused in the US, Australia, within Africa, and then at the EU. And then I personally oversee the US advocacy team. So I'm happy to talk about our work there. Like Senna said, a lot of our work is more behind the scenes, meeting with decision makers, sending letters, those kinds of things. And then we also do some public facing work. So I'll be happy to discuss that a bit later as we go along. But for now, why don't we pass it on to Kana?
Great. My name is Kana Godlicha. I work for Allah as a report writer. All those amazing human rights documentation violation from the individual report to the larger community violation, I write them. If we go a bit of my background, I was born and brought up along the border between Kenya and Ethiopia. Previously, I schooled in Ethiopia, then moved to Kenya. Specifically, have a law background, graduating 17th December this year. In 2 weeks' time, I'll be graduating from law school. I specifically did law because of the injustice I always see my community face from the Ethiopian soldiers. Every time in the name of looking for rebels, they beat the pastoralists, because the pastoralists, the way of life, how they live within the harsh area, you can't differentiate between a pastoralist and a rebel. And sometimes the injustice I saw within my community make me to do law to advance their interest. and amazing. I'm on the right course doing that. As we go along, we might know each other. In Kenya, actually, what I do, I'm the president of University and College Student Association of Marsabit County. I literally also do refugee advocacy, working with urban refugees in Nairobi. Sometimes that's what I do advance. At law school, one of the student council, as a section, I acted as a section of the student council. Retired, just recently retired, but that's passion to what I see from my background. Yeah.
I'll just jump on, ask you a question, Kana. I want you to say on two things. Everybody that's commenting, thank you so much. Continue commenting, continue sharing our page. Today is Giving Tuesday, so don't forget to be generous and support us, because it's a lot of work that it's unseen that goes in it. Every day, every minute we work. It's true. Like from Alyssa, everybody work from home. She clocks in from 8:30 my time until 5:30, kind of, all of us. So all of this is made possible by your donation, by your support. But Kana, I want you to say on two things. First of all, again, so Kana is also another law person we have on our staff. In addition, I think we have another law volunteer who's not here, based in New York, who's looking at things like AU. How can AU Human Rights Commission, because the human rights violation against Oromo is so severe, it is so hard for just an advocacy to get the job done. And maybe later on, Alyssa will talk, because Alyssa and I do work behind scenes together. We write to this special envoy, we write to Secretary of State, we do all this work, and then it's like going to black hole. But Kana, what I want you to talk a little bit about how hard it is, and then also again, ask these people to donate too, how hard it is, because you write 2 Humans of Oromia per week, but the work, the hours, the phone call, the begging, it goes to that to get, it's like getting a diamond from Oromos just to get their stories out. How hard it is. Talk a little bit about that. Thank you so much, Ghana.
Yeah, thank you, and allow me to just use a fan Oromo for a little bit on this.
And so just making sure that then we'll go to IU and then we'll come back. Go ahead. So go ahead.
Yeah. Ujinki ne do a report, you can gathering report on why mirgnama yoro mirgnama jekamu nan Oromia kana data argachuda. Akumat adesena Oromia kesat amanta wani de madra wana kamale naf yohan jiru nama golgoli samalif na guya nami jefa majra guya nami ida majra guya shamarranke yukana mungkin bufama yukan sexual violation kan jadam sun rip ko dajrani data kan argachu fi baye rakisa da malif nanu matike nene yero do Facebook yamale data inken imbarre fat wal you can galme fatu kan jechu barbadu. It's so painful. Yot lalte gise do data waan barreessu kan waan jeequmsi mirga namarra kan barreessinu kan argachuu fi baay'ee carraa bilbiltees yeroo hedduu waggaa maqaa nam gaafatu namni ijjeefame yookaan namni hidhame heennu gaafatu jettee gaafatu maqaan sun argamuu hin danda'amu. Yeroo hedduuf bilbiltee eessatti ijjeefame oteettu naannoon inni itti ijjeefame yookaan naannoon inni itti hidhame beekamuu hin danda'amu. Maaliif jennaan namni hedduun daataa kan waan collection yookaan walitti qabachuu waan hin gooneef. Kanaafuu yeroo hedduu argachuu fi baay'ee carraandhee guyyaa 2-3 deemnee laal. Because of amazing donors hedduu support hojii kana give up hin goone. Literally, what I mean now, if I go back to English, is that whenever we document human rights violation, we get extrajudicial killing, illegal detention, rape, sexual violence, other sexual violence, enforced disappearance, and sometimes in execution, a lot of torture, kidnapping. And for us to get this data, we struggle a lot because our people normally don't, gather, keep data in a formal and concise and clear way. We make a lot of email to them, pleading with them to get, to forward us the data because we work with human rights organizations to do this, but we can't get. we can't get these we can't send this data to NGOs and other human rights organizations. Because if you don't have concise and clear data, we can't able to document, and this has made our work so hard. And we make several phone calls with a lot of email to get the data, and it's so hard to penetrate our community to convince them, get us data. And the amazing work our donors are doing is what keep us pushing. Sometimes on the financial aspect of the view. Yeah, let me leave it there, Desina.
Yeah, we'll go to Ayantu. Before we go to Ayantu, I want to give a shout out to Hamza Yusuf WQ donated $100, and Muhammad Ababulgu donated 50. I want you guys to continue to donate as we speak. We want to give shout out. I know some of you might not stay on live to hear your name shout out, so we would like to keep it as soon as you donate. I want to give a shout out. Of course, we saved the best for last. Our president Ayantu is I guess ready to introduce herself, and then I have some questions for each one of you that we will ask.
You want me to just go ahead, Santa? Okay, so my name is Ayantu Abdusalam. Most of y'all know me alongside Santa, but I'm the person in the background, president of OLA, but most of my work is that background work. So as you can hear from Alyssa and Kana, it's a lot of advocacy work, but as an organization, there is day-to-day work that needs to be done. So I am mostly focused on communications and helping out with any other aspects of the organization's work. So institution building is my main motivation for being here. Oromos, we do have political groups, we have this group and that group, but what about an institution that is constantly working full-time to speak for you? And in order for something like that to happen, there needs to be funds for it. That's just the reality of anything that is out there. So please do give. We are working so hard behind the scenes. Like, we can't even tell you. Some people work from like 70, 80 hours, like in order to get the Oromo voices heard in comparison to other ethnic groups that are within Ethiopia who have had governments, who have had funding from this organization and that country, all of that stuff, Oromos have to work twice as hard to get our voices heard. And that's what OLA is all about.
I'll ask you a question. I will stay there for a second because your background is civil. Correct me too. I'm always getting people. Environmental engineering, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I almost gave you the civil.
It's okay.
So your background is in engineering.
They're closely related, so you're not that far off.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then you are basically science on you that's your expertise science, but you also been on OLA from get-go more than anybody. And then the communication department, OLA have about 4 departments. So in your department, because this work, a lot of time people ask me the question of like, what do you guys do? It's like, how many people? Is it just, is it just a posting? But you do see a lot of it because a lot of the social media campaign, whether it's in about a few hours, is going to be Twitter campaign. What kind of work it takes in the background to publish on the website, to put on IG, to put on here, to put on there. And I want you to talk a little bit about that and why it's important, because I want our audience to know the kind of work that goes in. People have not seen you. I think we had some kind of event maybe 6 months ago, 7 months ago. You have been Facebook Live on this channel. Talk a little bit about that angle. And then we're also looking always, for not just even financial support, volunteers and all kind of stuff. So talk a little bit about that. And T, you interrupt us. And if you see any of our donors, and we really want to shout out to them and thank them very, very much. Yes, you go ahead.
Yeah, so the perspective I want to take is more of the youth that have grown up in the United States, who are in the diaspora, who want to be a part of something bigger. And from the beginning, I have seen that. So the reason I'm saying that is a lot of the people that have been a part of us, even Kana, how I met him is because of our youth meetings that we used to have about 2 years ago. And from that, he came to the advocacy team. The person who is constantly working on these Twitter campaigns is a girl in Minnesota. who had passion. She wanted to do it alone as a person, but we said, come on, be a part of Ola. We have the team, we have the support, the technical stuff, and we can make, we can make the voice go further. So that's the part of that institution building, that organization. If you have a team that has the same passion and the same motivations that you do, one person's passion and strength can go a lot further. And I think that Ola is one of the only organizations that allows for something like that to happen. So a lot happens when it comes to communications. And one of my favorites, since education, nobody's here to speak for education, is all of the Afan Oromo words postings that we do on Instagram. How many youth are coming to us and engaging and learning their language? Because if you don't know your language, you can't go back home, or you can't even understand the basics to actually help your own people. So communications is a big part. A lot of the organizational, the HR, all of that stuff that nobody knows about consumes a lot of our time. And that's what's making Ola successful.
Okay. And then I'll just say one thing, and then I'll get off UIU. And then also, I believe last year we have over 1 million visitors on our website. Maintaining our website, putting, because we have templates. We, obviously that is for the advocacy. Alyssa will talk about that. Making that thing possible for them. And then you also mentioned, Ayu, for me, about being part of organization versus just being by yourself. The difference, how, because you've seen last year we have over almost 100 youth volunteer for Oromo, but this year it's quiet. Then like the value of understanding, because you yourself is young, and you've been by yourself, and you are being part of an organization that we built together from scratch. But now, how important it is that you mentioned Hamdi. I think you didn't mention her name, but you mentioned the young girl and another person who behind the scene that works, that don't come on. There's a lot of people behind the scene that do work with the kind of impact. It's more, to me, it's like more lasting impact, whereas like you get burned and you get out, but rather it was more of a standardized. Talk a little bit more about that, and I think I'll give it to T after that.
I keep on saying this institution building thing, and the thing is, it's long term. Almost like across the plate has always been reacting to what's currently going on, right? Like there's a war, there's this president, there's this prime minister. It's always reacting to stuff. And if you're reacting, you're not building. We're not creating any sort of stability. So the idea here is what we're trying to do, at least with the youth. We're doing two angles. So we're working on advocacy on things that are currently happening, but behind the scenes, the youth that are actually becoming a part of our team, or actually using, this communications or learning technology or any sort of other skills, they in the future are going to make such a big difference for our people that, it's unimaginable. Even for me, I was one of the youth like straggling behind at Osfana, and that's how I kind of came into this. You would never see my face if it wasn't because of something that Joar, you started with the IOYA. That's how I kind of came in. And we didn't have any sort of youth thing. So having an institution that actually gives and opens up the space for the youth to work, to use their passion, to volunteer, that is necessary if we want the future of Oromos to be different than what it currently is.
Thank you, Ayantu. I just want to give out a couple of shout outs. And nobody has donated since those two shout outs, but I want to shout out somebody who donated before we went live. Is a dear friend of mine. I just wanted to recognize him. He lives somewhere in East Africa. Matahara Efrem Mamo, thank you for your donations. And another shout out I want to make is a lot of people are commenting, free all political prisoners. They're naming some of them by name, so I just want to shout out to all political prisoners. They need to be freed, and we're in agreement with that. My question will be mainly for Alyssa and maybe Kanna also, and Sena can also chime if you like. As Kenna spoke, it's very hard to gather some data, and also we believe there's some systematic avoidance of reporting anything Oromo, as we see a lot of the things that are being reported in mainstream media and all other outlets as the things that are going in the north. My question is, one, what are we doing, or what do you think is happening on Allah's side to kind of bring the Oromo voice to the forefront? And then two, what are the things that we can do to help? I mean, Kenna suggested what we can do with the people's side, but some of the systematic avoidance of speaking about one of the largest groups, not just in Ethiopia, but in the East, in the whole of Africa. So just tell us some of the things that has been done, and then some of the things that could be done. I'll start with Alyssa, and then you guys can go on to the next week.
Great. Yes. So on to your first point about what is being done to bring the Oromo voices to the forefront. Much of the credit for the work of our organization in this area goes to Kana, who keeps his ear to the ground on the situation inside Ethiopia and is reporting to us and updating us on situations that largely don't get reported in mainstream media. So someone like me, who doesn't speak Afan Oromo, would not be able to know about situations going on. So then once Kana gets us this information, we can either A, report publicly on them, and then also do private engagements with key decision makers on these issues. So for instance, one of the big issues recently has been the need to free the political prisoners and the recent press release by their families about the reported attempt to take them from their cells. When Ola received information about that, we both issued a press release echoing and amplifying the calls of their families and then calling for their release. And then we also have begun the process of engaging with certain decision makers on my end, that's generally members of Congress, raising their attention to the situation and asking them to think about publicly speaking out about the need to release these prisoners. So that's one example of how we go about amplifying these kinds of issues publicly that aren't necessarily raised in the public sphere and through traditional media means. As far as the systemic avoidance of the topic of the human rights and humanitarian situation facing the Oromo, that's also a pretty major focus of what we do, especially our behind the scenes work with key decision makers. So a lot of what we do in terms of advocacy is educating people about the human rights situation facing the Oromo, both from what is currently happening and then also a historical perspective of what has led us to this point, so that they themselves are informed and able to realize the extent of this situation and better advocate on our behalf themselves. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary for right now. I'll pass it on to Senna or Kana for a bit more detail.
Kana, you want to add? If not, I'll add.
I just want to say, let's, for example, take Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, a commission that is funded by taxpayers' money, which majority are Oromo. So systematically, there are a lot of, human rights violation happening in Oromia, where people are literally taken out of prison and killed on a daily basis, where women are raped by military force in the military camp, where boys are sodomized by military men. And this will not be reported by Ethiopian Human Rights Commission. They will never publish any report about that. You'll never see other online, print media like at this standard writing about it. Look at the human rights, the anger. People have right to food. People have, right to dignity, the human dignity aspect. You saw where are people in Bali, in Borana, and other people are dying because of anger. And it's a government responsibility, a government responsibility to, protect the life of the property and people and their property. So all these are marginalized voices. You'll never see, advocacy done on behalf of these people. You see the Ethiopian Red Cross. A Red Cross, which is a national, international organization, is not doing anything. Think about the impact of the current conflict going on in Ethiopia. It's not only affecting the north, but also the south. People are displaced, properties are destroyed, and this, livelihood should be restored. And nothing is being done, and even advocacy not done on the behalf of all these marginalized voices. And what Allah is doing, and the different aspect of this is that you see we are trying to get in touch with medias to amplify their voice, because these stories are so unique and it's not, told to the world. It's very unique and very important. We also try to document as much as possible so that this can be, people can read. Medias can, get first-hand information on that aspect of the view. We write many letters. We do Twitter campaign to know that to tell people that it's not only the Tigres or the Amaras who are being affected by the current conflict, but displacing millions of Oromos. People have not gone to their farm to plant for planting session for almost 2 years. People are forced to contribute their properties to them in the name of helping the Ethiopian military. We are telling these stories to the world through Twitter campaign, through letters, and this is now the other narrative, not the single story like the Chamanda Achebe saying. This is now the two-side narrative we are bringing out to the world. Yeah, thank you.
I think you're referring to that danger of one-sided story. Sena and anybody else with this, the reports are coming out the last 2 days, maybe yesterday, that 1,000 civilians have been killed by drones in the, I think, in Wallaga. One, have we confirmed those reports that are coming out? And two, why are not the international media picking up and talking about that? As we address those, Sena can also encourage. I would like to encourage everybody that's watching to keep donating, because I want to challenge our audience to average one donation every 5 minutes from here on until we close. So that's a challenge to our viewers. We've been working behind the scene to bring your voice to forefront, talking to influencers, policymakers, and as such. So we expect for you to take our challenge of donating one donation every 5 minutes. And then my question to Sena and Ayantu, and then the rest of you can chime in also.
Okay. Thank you, T. What I would do is I want to say what Alyssa say in English in Afan Oromo, and I come back and answer the question about drone. Afan Oromo take a Tisho. I'm looking at the comments. Sagantan kun saganta is a GivingTuesday. It's very not rajina titabe ta warrona chikesati nam arabsan. Warroni gannama chukale jadu. It's mind-boggling to me. Sigale ofi Oromo jedhani afa Oromo dubbataatiin guyyaa nuti keessummaa qabanne mucayyoon tu nama fakkeenyaaf nama keenyaa miti warra biyya kanaati. Sababaan asii isii as finnee jenneefi because dalagaan keenya harki 99 is behind the curtain. Amma fakkeenyaaf duratti isiin political prisoner jette waan goote maal goone tokko president si baasne jenne lama state department alaa barreessin sadi kongressota kara kudhaniiti xalaa ergineetiin kana focus godhaa jenne wanna kana faane Oromootiin kan dubbataa jiru. It's just mind-boggling to me. Oromoo jedhaa as keessatti kanam arrabsan sagantaan kun sagantaa fundraising it because dalagaan kun samiirratti dalagamaan jiru. Oromoon samiirraa hadda gadi buuteetiin Kongresiin Ameerikaa, Paarlamaan Euroopiyaa kan Oromoo ka dubbataa jiru, ka hidhamtoota ka dubbataa jiru, ka iyyaa jiru, ofii dalagamaa hin jiru. Namni kiraa manaa kafalatuu qaba. If we are serious, because waa lama ol bira jaallachuu hin dandeenyu akka Oromootitti. Ofiillee akka dalaguu hin barbaannu. Akka namni illee hin dalagne ammoo warroonni akkasumitti ta'an namoonni asirra kataban it's just mind-boggling. Fedhiin maan jiraa maalidha? Ollaan ko godhaa jiru sadhi wanni as geennee fi fundraisingidha. Specifically because mallaqa donation godhanii Facebookiin double godhee jira. Saniif specifically dhufne jenne. Warroon amma asirra gartane namshani. Namoonni hin dhufne hedduutu jira. Wanni hojii kana ka dalagaa jiru nama baay'een dalagneetiin malee maajikiirraa press release gadi bahaan jiru. In fact, in bahu Oromoo itti deebi'ee jira ka drone irratti. Maa bahuu dhabere drone amma ka wallaga keessatti kalee galgala ta'ee jedhe. Achi dura kara drone 50 wallo keessatti tumaa turan torbaanii lamaaf deema wallo woboon qabattee jette uummanni walloof bilisoomsee drone tumaa jiran. Meetti dhaabbileen Oromoo ka dubbataa jiru ka dhaabbileen addunyaa ka dubbataa jiru. Ganda keessa deemne it is better namni gariin better sareen saree si goote because sareedhaan saree yoo hin jedhin ammoo hin galuufe kanam asitti platformii namaa irratti dhufe nam hojii hojjetu ka arrabsu it's just to me raajina ta'ee jedhaati just hojii nu dhaabanii fi miti garuu waan dhageeffataa jiruufi waan 99 deebi'ee katabaa jiruufi manni keenya namoota san ka beekanii itti dubbatu qaba because otoo hadhaa mucayyoo tana waa kafaluu dhabaanne mucayyoon tun si gadi nama seera baratte fakkeenyaaf nama mana barumsaa guddaa Harvard University irraa eebbifamtee jette kaanaan nama seera baratee jedhe nama eebbifamuuf deemaa jiru xiqqaattee guddattee warroonni kuni Oromoof dalaguu fi ofiif nyaachuu qaban namni nyaatu malee watakka dalaguu hin danda'u nyaatichi sun ammoo samiirraa gadi hin dhufu asitti ammoo sariidhaan gariin si arrabsitee jette wantummaa ollaan godhaa jiru sagalee kanarratti kan dubbataa jiru in fact warra political prisoner illee haasaa jiru dhimmi kun dhimma politikaati miti dhimma hidhaati miti today is a fundraising because dalagaa turre waggaa guutuu samiirraa dhufee hin dalagamne ka addunyaan si dhagaa jirtu kunniini garaa kan kee keessatti Ameerikaa raajjuu baafateeti miti so you should not even talk about why political prisoner illee naas hadha keessi naasaa jiru nu qarqaaraadha every Wednesday borulleen dhufne every Wednesday conversation goone gaafii sin gaafatan deebisaa jirra garuu laali tisho masgida dhaqxeetiini waa'ee sirbaa hin dubbattu bakka sirbaa deemtee ammoo waa'ee masgidaa waa'ee amantaa hin dubbattu everything bakka qaba so warroonni as dhufee fi ayyaantu nama dargaggeettidha nama daa'ima xiqqoo manaa qabdu nama hojii qabdu hojii because ollaan it cannot afford to pay her akkasitti kafaluu fi hin danda'u so sa'aatii sii gubdee asirra teettee waan godhaa jirru ka isinitti himaa jirruu fi tokko dalagaan dalagamaa jira akka uummanni keenya beekuuf lammataaf dalagaa dalaman jiru ana afaan hin dubbadhu otoo hin ta'in namoonni akka ayyaantuu dipaarmentii guutuu kalaalan namoonni akka Alisaa dipaarmentii guutuu kalaalan Alisaan ka Ameerikaa illee gootii advokasii illee oversii goote because nama biraatti Austraaliyaa irra dalagaa jira nama biraatti Yuurooppii irra dalagaa ture so kanneen akka daarreetilii warra irraa dhageettaniif akka hamilee nuuf taataniif akka nu qarqaartaniif guyyaa qarqaarsaa kana isinitti dhufne jenne asitti ammoo waa'ee hidhamtoota dubbadhaa jenne waa'ee hidhamtoota ati dubbatti nu jetteef hin dubbannu in fact ati dubbattee fi namoonni gariin beekta waan hamaa si dubbachiisanii jiran isaanii miti anyway keenyatti deebi'uu fi it is very important bakka gaafii typical Oromoo beektaa sariidhaan garii ani community keessatti hin guddadhee jedhe Oromoo diiguudhaa fi gaafii hamtu si gaafatti community ijaaruu hin barbaadan ollaa qarqaaruu hin barbaadan ollaa volunteer godhuu hin barbaadan garuu ollaadhaa fi seenaa maqaa balleessan ollaan uummatarraa mallaqa fudhate mallaqa kan kee fudhanne bakka fudhate maal taata ofirraa seenaaf hoo jette si gadi ollaan uummata Oromootu ollaa kumaatamaan kenneefi jedhe waggaa dabre ka kenne ka biraati ka garaan si gubatamuu ka biraati saniif ammoo hin dhiisnu dalagaa so kanaafiyyuu bakka dubbattan sagantaa irratti dubbattan laaluu qabuu qabdan because nuti illee ilma namaatiiti nutti dhagahamee jira si galee wannaadha machine Oromoof hin dalaga jette saniidhaan gariin si arrabsee jettu amiin sanii waan dhiistu miti waa meeqa akka nutti haasamaa ture ijoollee meeqa mataa nyaatanii garagalchanii akka nu qarqaarree akka nu wajjin baalantirii akka goone hin beekne warroonni akkasii warroonni gariin nama guguddaa nama abbaa keenya ta'utu gadi bu'ee waa'ee keenya asee ijoollee ofii nurraa qabee ijoollee ollaa nurraa qabee jira diinni Oromoo Oromoodha kanaafi amaarri diina Oromootii miti Tigreen diina Oromootii miti diinni ijoollees keessa nama arrabsitaa jirtu sun tanniin si galee akka nama Jawaariif jaallattee Jawaari dubbadha waan Baqqalaa dubbadha is nonsense kadha irratti haasaa jiru waa'ee fundraising kana irratti qarqaartee jirta Oromoo maal qarqaar Facebook irratti baatee itiin amma kaanaan ka dubbatee jedhee Oromoo irraa maqaa fuudhuun akka daayimandii fuutu ulfaatee jira information tokko Facebook irratti gadi baanee ammootiin maaf nu dubbatuu dhabaananii mee maal goote ati drooniin namoota akka ati jettetti namoota kumaatama kalee East Wallaggaa irratti drooniin bu'e achi dura torbaan lamaa fi Walloo keessatti drooniin gubataa turte maal goote warra asirratti iyyaa jedhu kunniinti maal godhani what are they doing beside asitti Facebook irratti dhufanii jedhe so today is specifically fundraising gida wanti isinirraa eegnu wanti isinirraa barbaadnu afaan keessan ajaa cuqqaaltanii oo barbaadan bakka biraa of geessitanii mallaqa nu kennu hamilee nu qarqaarudha that's it otoo qaasii galee that's it kan biraa ajandaan biraa ajandaa hidhamtootaatii miti kaadhaasuuf ne jenne nuti ammoo ilma namaati waan ati barreessitu agarree jenna nuti ammoo dhaaba baasuullee hin dandeenye jenna garuu namoonni daa'imman ofii dhiisanii as keessa nuti jiranii ilma namaati oromoodhaaf sagalee taana jenneetiin sagalee ammoo ta'aa jirra taanee mul'isnee jirra kanaaf oromoon nu faana jirti as dhuftee warra nama arrabsu ammoo warroon ilaalaa jirta warroota akkasiisanii warri technical ayyuu remove godhee jenna remove godhee block godhee jedhe because is bullying afaan oromoo akka maal ta'e hin beeku bullying jechuun afaan oromootiin maali?
Hacuucuudha irratti fakkaata. Irratti fakkaata. Kanaan dhugaadha namoonni baay'ee si focus on agendaa keessan irra jechaa jiru warri kun warra ergamoota mootummaa jechaa jiru. I want to give shout out to Umar Ali who donated $70. Really what you donate is going to be multiplied because Meta or Facebook is matching your donations. So we appreciate it. Shout out to you, Omar Ali. The challenge we gave every 5 minutes, one donation. The first 5 minutes over, next 5 minutes, we expect another donation. And please, if you guys have anything to add on the question, to remind you, there's a drone attack in Walaga, which also Sena just added. There are more attacks in other Oromia regions, but hasn't had any coverage. Any thoughts on that? It could be what you think about why there's no coverage, or how we can get coverage, or what the people that are watching can do to probably push for that coverage. Anybody can take this.
Yes, I was gonna come to that question. I never get to it, so you jump in. So let me, after I cleared the air about some of the warrota askeseta batajiru, comment or barresajitani, we appreciate the comment kesani. Don't worry because at the second half and raising it when it's at Raguatinjiru, there was sometimes your kasitimani. Akanamati, we feel good, and I feel good that I think they behave. Technically, warra kana intolerance bully kanin keessa baasu qaban akkaataa jetteefiti kalii galgala about 10 hours or so kalii galgala in Wallagga irratti buusuu jalqaban.
Let's try to do it also in English because we want the outside community to hear, especially about this drone attack.
Okay. Thank you. So that's like my cue and T saying that let's talk in English about the drone part. So this is new. It's about last night, they start attacking with the drone in Walaga, but we are much aware about the Wallo. They've been attacking Wallo for the last 2 weeks. I think for our audience, there are hundreds of people who are watching. So here's what happened, TDF or TPLF, obviously have to cross over to break the siege against this government and take part of Amhara and part of Afar. And then they came to part of Oromia. The funny thing, the part of Amhara when the TDF occupy, there's no bombing. It's a safe. In fact, the Amhara government, UN, a different organization is giving food aid to millions of them. And then there's a small part of Oromo. That is where it's been bombing for 2 weeks. And that is where there is no voice. There is no international attention to it. They've been bombing that nonstop for the last 2 weeks. And last night, which we haven't got, we have to get our information accurately. We haven't said anything because it's just this morning that we find out. I woke up super early this morning, and when I saw actually the first tweet came about 12 hours ago. There was a bombing in Walaga that over 100 casualties, if not hundreds, is from what I heard, but we have not verified that. We are going to work on that today and try to do something about it. But what we do is this thing. So when on the drone attack that happened 2 weeks ago, we wrote a press statement and we prepared a template. Call your Congress, call your senator, call your member of parliament. That is what Alyssa does. That is like the thing that, because for you as a layperson, you don't know what to do. Yes, there's 100 people dying with Walaga. So what? People are confused. So what Allah does, what we do, and I think Alyssa can add more, is that we prepare a template that makes it very easy for you. All you have to do is put your name, your Congress, senator, or parliament member name on it, and then your name on the bottom, and it's done, because we prepare all that letter for you. Because if you as an individual, you want to reach out to your senator about this drone bombing, about the political prisoners, about endless atrocity that's happening in Oromia, it is hard for individuals. So what we have done in the past, as Alyssa had mentioned earlier, is that we put out press statement, because press statement, we have a lot of Oromos and non-Oromos that follow us. We obviously work very closely with the US government, with the European Parliament, much before, a little bit less now, and directly with the Australian government. We also do work with the NGOs, whether it's International Red Cross, whether it is different UN, including UN, about refugee issues, not just even in Ethiopia. We are directly engaging with the UN about Kenya, as well as in other regional area about Oromos who are silently are being, ethnically cleansed, but the person who's doing the cleansings, unfortunately, is the Naftanya, which Oromos are equally part of it. So T, I think that these are some of the stuff that we have done, just to answer your question.
Great. I just want to give a shout out. I think they're trying to kill me on my challenge. There's been donations. Aman J. Kadir. I'm not going to say amounts from now on because they're donating high amounts. I like it. Aman J. Kadir donated. Abdisa Wako and Muhammad Fotobadaso or Fatabadaso. Appreciate your donations. Your donation will be doubled because there's going to be matched. I think it's dollar for dollar matching. This is amazing. I'll continue asking our wonderful panel some questions. I'll direct this question to Alyssa, but of course I want everybody to answer. I want you guys to tell us about the significance of. Okay, the template is prepared. We want individuals to fill those out. What's the significance? Why is it important that the individuals fill these things out? And also, what's the significance of press releases? And can we kind of measure the impact or have we seen tools like this work to amplify voices in the past? This question is for everybody, but I just would like to start with Alyssa.
Sure. So, there we go. So the templates are for emails and call-ins for your members of Congress. And so what basically these are is a brief summary in easily accessible language of the major issues that we're calling attention to at that time. For instance, in the bombings, we basically set out a script for people to use if they wanted to call their members of Congress and raise their attention to this issue. Same with an email that they can just copy and paste in a direct email. So what's really important about these is the fact that it serves to show members of Congress and leading decision makers that people care about these issues and that their constituents and the Oromo diaspora community cares about these issues, which makes them much more likely to take action on them. They, of course, are familiar with us as an advocacy group, and we've worked quite a bit with them, but it's just a sheer mass that you can get that really shows these members of Congress that there is a real interest in these things. And quite frankly, if they want people to continue supporting them, they are issues they should be aware of and take care of. As far as the press releases themselves, they serve as a way to make a couple of different things, really. They show OLA's position on several of these things and also serve to highlight issues that often aren't covered in the mainstream media. For instance, these bombings that have happened that have had very little international attention so that we can call attention to them publicly, both in our conversations with other people and just in terms of alerting people to the fact that things are happening. As far as measuring the impact of these campaigns, this is an area that's very difficult to ever fully say that what we did caused something to happen. But I think that there are signs that you can point to that show that these kinds of campaigns do have an impact. So for instance, the Senate recently introduced a resolution on Ethiopia, which, while isn't perfect, I think is a lot broader of a text that focuses on more parts of Ethiopia than it would have had if Ola and the Oromo diaspora community hadn't been advocating for so long to educate these members of Congress about the needs of the Oromo people and the human rights and humanitarian situation throughout all of the southern regions. And we're currently, because of the relationships we've been able to form with them, working with them behind the scenes to propose amendments to the text to make it even stronger. And so those are the kinds of things that you could point to that show that the work we do have has a real impact. And you're writing in and calling your members of Congress and raising this as an issue that matters not just to Ola, but to the Oromo diaspora community as a whole, really makes an impact there.
Thank you. Before I give it to anybody else, really, my challenge has been killed out of the waters. A lot of more donations are coming in. Hiko, Falamat, Kennedy, Bayan, and Abdane Boru all donated. What this shows me is that people are understanding the power of advocacy. People are valuing the work that Ola is doing on behalf of the Oromo people, the Oromo public. What we're bringing to the forefront, the voices that are being stifled, the voices, the stories that have been hidden. We're trying to bring them to light, and these people are understanding. Our audience are understanding the work that we're doing, and they are actually putting their money where their understanding is. So I kind of appreciate. I want to continue the challenge. I'm gonna upgrade my challenge. So every 5 minutes we want 3 donations because it's happening. So we'll continue doing that. To add to the question that Alyssa just answered, whoever wants to answer, I want to also for you to include what are these policymakers, what are these influencers, what are they saying when we talk to them about Oromia? Let the public know what we're hearing, and do they at least tell us we hear you? Keep talking, keep working. You're making an impact. Is there an encouragement on that side of the aisle? So anybody can answer this. Don't fight over the mic. One by one. I'll give you all chances.
I'll go after Alyssa. And Alyssa, Kenna, and then I'll go after. So Alyssa just to answer that part and everything. I'll add on.
Great. Yeah, I can mostly speak to the U.S. side of the aisle since that's where I primarily work. Like I said, for a long time, Ola has been focused on developing relationships with certain members of Congress to raise their awareness to the human rights situation in Oromia and for the Oromo people, and to take concrete action. And I will say from our conversations with them, we do often receive very direct encouragement from them that the work that we do, especially meeting with them and talking to them about the Oromo perspective, is very helpful to them in terms of drafting their foreign policy, coming up with bills, and taking efforts to be more inclusive in their public statements and any kind of bills or resolutions that they introduce. So yes, I think overall these people generally seem to find it very helpful, and I think it is actually having a concrete impact.
I mean, we even asked them, I think, Alyssa, if you remember, just last week meeting with like, hey, is our advocacy working? And if you remember what they say, these are senior officials who assured us that this is a lot of time all they get. What they hear from us is all they get. So, T, I think, let me just, you know what, after I'll speak after Kenna. Go ahead, Kenna.
You said Kenna and then you next, so we're going to hold you to your words. Since I have the mic now, I'll encourage our audience to keep donating. 3 every 5 minutes, that's what we would like to average. So keep donating. I'll shout out your name as you donate. Kenna is yours.
Yeah, let me first go to the point of, us releasing press release. And whenever we release a press release, we send it to media house. And this is how we amplify the voice of people. For example, when release press release on the bombing, medias are not aware. And we become now the voice of those people who their rights are violated. And if I, come from the international right or humanitarian law perspective, the government must obey, what is called respect for innocent civilian property. And that's what the Ethiopian government is failing us, where now they loot properties of innocent civilians in the name of supporting rebels. And without sufficient evidence, the government doesn't have any control over a large majority of the landmass in Ethiopia. And when we release press release and send it to the media, we become now their voice. And this is how the media now gets. When we put that press release on, on our website, the media house come and give press release from our website. When, for example, we, write the issue of like what Oromo refugees going on in Yemen, and we come to the media and people read, human rights organization go to our website and read, and that's how they get first-hand information about human rights violation happening to Oromos. And I want to take up the issue of bombing, and one thing, the challenge we have with even the Oromo diaspora community, they have people back at home there in those zones and those location district. They should be the first people to get first-hand information of the families of the individuals who are killed, so that they can pass it to us. We do our own investigation and also pass it to human rights organization, pass it to the media house to amplify the voice. And this is where now the 50 million Oromos are failing. We keep saying we don't have voice when our people are not documenting and the injustice that's happening to them. And let me tell you why recording is very important from the Kenyan perspective. That I learned law that in 1980s, Kenya went through what Ethiopia currently now is going through, where the government literally killed their own citizens. The government eliminated political prisoners. And once the reform came in, there is what is called seeking for compensation or reparation, and what's again called Truth and Justice Reconciliation Commission, and where independent investigation came in, and those families are compensated, or that land is taken back, because people used to be document the injustice that's happening to them. People have data, people have records, and what if we don't do that? We are going to even fail, even if reform come in future. All those families that are affected to them will be, all those families affected will not get justice, because literally there will be lack of evidence to prove what happened to them. What about if we investigate, independent investigators or international community come in, where we call every time for independent investigation, and our people don't have data and keep that and have record of what happened to them? And Allah is actually, they're glad because we keep the record. We have the database. We keep updating we keep updating from the media house, from the, literally the injustice that happen in the community, so that for future purpose, make reference, for future purpose, keep advocacy going, for future purpose, it could be help our people to get reparation in that aspect, in that field. Yeah, let me leave it that.
I think we'll have a program on that, Kana, in the future. Me, you, and Sena, and Nafan Oromo. I think we should emphasize this. This is a very critical point you raised. I think Sena's trying to give her position for Ayantu to say something.
Yeah, I want to answer first, and then I'll give it to Ayu to say a few more. Because I'm not going to pass my opportunity before I speak. But I think Alyssa have said a lot. What we have to understand, the Oromo issue is chronic issue. It has been something that have been there, that have been normalized. The killing of Oromo. I mean, you guys don't know. Our other partner who focused on Yemen, she's not here. We're trying to have her on next week's discussion. She's based in Australia. She covers Australia and Yemen. The reason why I'm bringing this up to you is I want people to understand how difficult it is to be relevant when the oppression have been for so long. When the killing, the arrest, the extrajudiciary the abuse of Oromo is part of the Ethiopian system. Even we Oromo have internalized it. When 100 people die in drone, what are we doing? Oh, it's just 100? It's just 100 Oromos. If there was 100 Amhara die today with that drone, imagine. Imagine the kind of conversation the media is going to be having. We Oromo have accepted the operation, the systematic cleansing of Oromuma as part of the Ethiopian identity. So to me, it doesn't surprise me when nobody's speaking about, because even us Oromos, it's like somebody beat you up. It becomes no, but the first time they hit you, or you react very hard. So what's happening in Tigray for the last 20 years, obviously for better or worse, TPLF was in power. Might not have favored as much to Tigray, but at least they've been somehow peacefully living. But for us, we are here because that's systematic. We are the offspring of those people who are mutilated, who have been terrorized because of the previous system that have protected the Tigrayan in Tigray. This is At this point, obviously, we stand 100% with the people of Tigray, because what's happening to them is genocide. But on last year, 2 years ago, we were on the recipient side, and nobody, let alone even Tigray, we even did not speak. Let's be honest. I think something that Alyssa said, because of the relationship, but people don't understand the keyword. Because of the relationship we had, they listened to us. If we didn't have that relationship, they would not talk to us. That's what people need to understand, that relationship is not something like, just because there's a killing in Walaga of 1,000 people, the US Congress don't care. In fact, the Oromos who are complaining here right now, they can go to a US Congress office, nothing will be done. Nobody will talk to them. You have to understand, you have to have relationship. You have to produce your credibility. You have to show that you are someone that they should listen to, that what you say is actually have some truth in there. And that does not happen overnight. What we found out, and Alyssa, I don't know if she can add in the next maybe topic, we'll talk about it, is that what we found out was what happened to refugees in Kenya. And I think Hannah even can add on that, is like how the Oromo refugees, and I've said this on the media, when the Tigray refugees went to Sudan, there was a refugee camp to welcome them. But when Oromo refugees come to Kenya, they have to go to almost Uganda border to register, almost Uganda, and you don't have a legal paper. How are you supposed to get there? It's a whole process, is to eliminate Oromo voice, not just in Ethiopia, but even in a neighboring country. So how is, like, sometimes the question you asked to Alyssa, and I think to all of us, is like, why is it hard for our voice to be heard? Because we're being part of the system. The elimination of Oromo is a part of the Ethiopian norm that even we Oromos, I mean, the generals in powers are Oromo. The people who are, we saying they're 60% of Ethiopian population is Oromo. Oromos should be able to burn down that country because of their size itself, but systematically have been enslaved and brainwashed. But I want to jump on and ask Ayu, and I'll come back on.
Yeah, before that happens, I encourage our audience to keep donating. I don't see donations in the last 5 minutes, and I see some of my own friends as audience. So I challenge you, those of you who I'm watching, I'm looking at you. You're watching this program. And I challenge you to donate whatever you have for this cause. Ayan, so I want you to add also, since you spoke on how important it is to build an institution, what's the importance of building a good institution, an institution with a great track record like Ola has? How Sena kind of talked about, this networking and getting to know people and bring, making your circle bigger. Can you speak on that, what Ola is doing, has done, and also what kind of the importance of even having this great track record as an institution, not just building an institution, but building a great institution, and what that looks like?
I will add on you, Ayu. I'll add for you on top of what, the importance of that institution. What he asked, I wanted to ask you, I asked you these questions for several reasons, Ayu, because our aim, especially our diaspora, is in your age group. People who are, born back home, came here very young, Americanized, what our people call them, too Americanized. They are on the edge. We're trying to get hold of them because the one that already gone to Americanized, we have lost them. There is no hope for them. But if there is any hope, and then also talk about on two angles for you to cover about IU is how do what should we tell to these young people? They can make a difference because they need internship. Why are you not doing internship in here in Ola? And this is how Ola can help you. If you have the skill and if you're going to school to learn design, to learn, if you're a major in communication, because you oversee communication, all this fancy thing, that template, the content is produced by Alyssa and her team on advocacy side. But to put that content that way, it is convenient for people. You can think about Twitter campaigns. We've advanced, we've changed so much. Those things take so much work, to make it beautiful, to make it efficient and friendly to use it. And how can we get help from this? Almost we lost the use. And then also, what you work, how does your work even you impact you as an Oromo American? Because like you say, you came to this Oromoma. You didn't grow up with Oromo. It's the first time you heard about it was just only a couple of years ago in 2015, 2016. And then here you are now. It became part of your identity. Talk a little bit about that, Ayu.
Yeah, so I want to start with what happened right after Hachalu's murder. So we had a bunch of, I mean, it was crazy, and the youth just didn't have a place to be. So what I did was I did a 4-week kind of check-in where anybody who wants to can come and we can talk about it. We can talk about solutions, problems, ways to tackle it. So the biggest problem with the diaspora, and this is, I'll keep saying it, institution building, because the thing is the future. We cannot focus on today. And these kids are saying, like, we don't know our own history, that when we get on social media, we don't know how to talk to other people. We have gotten desensitized. We are being split 200 ways because this organization and that organization and this organization wants us to be a part of them. So when you hear this type of narrative, what I have seen is what Tisho is asking is building a good organization. One, it takes time. It takes trial and error. We have learned a lot. We have given opportunities. I know about a month or two ago, somebody was like, I need a job. I'm applying for a job. Can you write me a recommendation? And he was a volunteer for us the last summer. And, and that was a tech position, and he worked in tech and security for us. So that kind of relationships that we build, going to Osfana and seeing kids that I work virtually with who are going out and getting their degrees and being a part of the community. It is so important to have some place that the youth can go. We get a lot of complaints and we see a lot of issues where it's drugs, whatever, they're joining the wrong group, they don't know who they are, they don't know their language. Ola exists, and that's been my passion, that's been what I've been focusing on, so that these youth can have a place to be. Did I miss something, Sana?
No, I think I was just gonna say the funny thing. I remember the internship. You say you wrote a lot of recommendation. We have written a lots of letter of for asylum seekers in Europe, in Italy. There are organizations that have came to me. The one that I just remember from last week is from Italy. One of the things that he asked was like, well, I have an applicant. He's not a Oromo, who is an Oromo from Harar. And but according to the media, the war is only on the north. Oromia is safe. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we have to, and that's what he said. Like, it's Oromia is safe, and they're telling us this. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of organization you forwarded to me, and I look at it. They're like, oh, we have asylum case seeker that's saying this, and we also have, in fact, here. I don't want to say the name of university. It's in Washington. It's a top university. I've never dealt with any African legal case, but they have accepted an Oromo case and they're working on it. They have taken the case for the first time. And so we work with the different institutions to kind of give them what's happening, because we are educating the international community, including an institution, a Red Cross organization that they've never even heard of it, and writing letters for recommendation and just having answering question like I want to say, I remember, because before Hachalu was killed, you used to provide a training for what's called Oromo professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct? Yes, Oromo professionals. So having a platform for young people to come together, talk to each other. Last year when I told Hachalu, hundreds of people came. We didn't even have the capacity to absorb them. You know what I'm saying? We were just like confused just as much, because it was 100 people. We were just like overwhelmed, and we lost them because we didn't have the capacity. But today we are in a much better place. But tomorrow, I think that's what makes a huge difference between institution versus doing something that emotionally, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And even that one, right? Like adding on top of that, and why this Giving Tuesday thing is so important, is that people are just burned out. But you're spending hundreds of dollars at Walmart or, at Amazon. And this is why Giving Tuesday was started, because you have people spending on Cyber Tuesdays, on Thanksgiving, on Black Fridays. But why not use the money that you have, which is just sitting there, which you're capable of giving, for a cause that you believe in? And I think Ola and the work that it has done, and the constant proof of work that it has done. I mean, have you seen our newsletters? All of the publications, go to the site. This is evidence based of how much time and effort that we put into actually creating what we do. And that's another thing to what Tisha was saying, of creating something that is actually good, not just sitting there, but that's actually good and can continue to be better. So this burnout culture, we're getting, bullied and, just burned out, that needs to stop. And that starts with you as an individual who's a part of a community actually investing, not on coffee on Starbucks to $10 a day, but a membership program.
Yep.
Funding an organization.
Yes, actually, I'm sorry. I'll say this, T, and then I'll give it to you. But it's so true, T. That the thing is, like, a lot of the people who used to be active are burned out. That's why you don't see them anymore on social media. You remember all the Twitter campaign. You remember all the protests that took place last year. You don't see that because people are burned out. You cannot do something volunteering forever. People have to pay their rent. People have to eat. For me to write a letter, I have to eat first. I have to have an apartment first. And so for our audience who are watching it, who are watching this show, and who there's, last week, our show, 40,000 people saw that. I want to mention about every other week, we send a newsletter from our press statement to publication, the publication that came out about Yemen. How many organizations out there is putting publication about Yemen, doing research, really, really good, thorough research? You know what I'm saying? How many are almost out there putting content about the bombing? You can Google online, you can see Oromo bombing, and I can promise you, most likely one or two organizations that have ever said anything about it. Forget about the international media, which intentionally, because it's systematic, have been excluded. But what about you, Oromos, who have seen us work hard? What have you done? If you have a young person who can volunteer, who have skills, who want to work on some project, what he or she have done? And honestly, the reason we're having this conversation, T, is really we do a lot of work. People don't see Ayantu. Less than people saw Ayantu probably 6-7 months ago. But every week, endless hours she works, send letters, respond to emails. We are an organization. We give message every single day from government, from NGOs who want to verify about what they heard in Oromia, to about talking about political prisoners, bringing about. Yesterday, I was in a meeting with the State Department. You know what I'm saying? You have to continue bring that. If you don't bring tea, that means, yes, they might not say anything publicly, but they know because of what the work we've done, because of the letter Alyssa have sent, whether it's special envoy or whether it is a State Department, the Bureau of Africa, it's a desk, or even a different department. They know because of the letter we send them. The difference between other organization and our organization, T, we do not just write fancy letter, put it on social media, and that's it. And a lot of times, as you know, Oromo protest, they go, to protest and they go home. Then nobody follows up with that. But what we do is actually we follow up on that, and that is what people like Ayantuda, people like Alyssa, who are invisible, because the three of us, Kana, you and myself, come on a weekly basis, talk about it. And, we usually talk about what's in the news, what is, on top of the agenda people are talking about. But the work is not about that. People like Alyssa, they do so much work every day from 8:30 until, 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. They do this. It's not easy, but people do not see. And I think for all of those fantastic work that guy, it has to go on a website. And to go on a website, to go on Instagram, to go on Facebook, people like Ayantu have to make it happen, have to make sure. If you remember, T, we had a Twitter campaign. Our website completely broke down because it got overwhelmed. Ayantu have to be online. Our staff have to be online talking to staff, to Bluehost, to make sure the website is up and running very soon. We have to make sure we get hacked by Ethiopian government, by people who just hate Oromos, that we have to protect our stuff double, triple, because we have information that is extremely secure, personal information. We have to pay super a lot of money to continue the work we do. I don't know if I left anything out.
No, it's great. It's great. I want to give out a shout out to Tuniz Tana, who just donated. I'm a little discouraged with the flow of donations. I want you guys to donate. as our speakers just highlighted, the reason we have institutions, the reason we should donate to institutions is as individuals we burn out, we don't follow up, we don't follow through. But in institutions that are there to serve the people, we're here to serve the public, the interest of the Oromo people, to make the voices heard. So that your donations are critical to the work that the organization Allah is doing. So we encourage people to continue donating. I'll tell you that Allah has a great name because in the last few weeks, I know USAID and a bunch of other lobbyists and lawyers have approached Allah to not only as an information source, as a trusted information source, but also to collaborate and probably perhaps render their services. So that just shows me that there is Allah's in the right track. And also as an individual, I've worked with a lot of volunteers within Allah, and because I get to know them, I get to see their work. I've written several letter of recommendations for scholarships and things of that nature. And not only me, I know Sena, and now if you get to work with Alyssa and Ayantu and Kanna, they also would be able to write you based on your work letter of recommendation to this different various. I can personally attest to at least 1 or 2 scholarships, and I was one of the recommenders for the person that was volunteering with us at Allah. Now, the next thing I want you guys to highlight is or speak on as you get good name, as you become a good institution, as your work is becoming visible, as you're becoming a source of information, a source of verification for information, as Allah is becoming all those things, the responsibility that comes with it is going to get higher and higher and higher. Of course, those are some of the reasons why we need money. That's why we are raising money. And what is Allah prepared to do as this responsibility grows? And what do we expect besides just money donations? What do we expect from our audience and for our supporters and for our, of course, members? What do we expect moving forward? Because our responsibility is going to be bigger. As an institution, we're becoming a trusted organization, a to-go-to organization. Just talk about the responsibility that's coming and what we're entitled to. I will start with Ayantu, and then Alyssa, then Kenna, and then Sena, since Sena just spoke at the end. Unless there's something present you wanted to say, Sena, you can jump in since you're hosting with me. You have that privilege.
No, I use good, I think. Thank you.
Okay, I've been on a couple of meetings with Sena and our volunteers and advisors, and sitting down with experts who know certain topics. I think that's what I see moving forward. People who know exactly what they're doing, us aligning our mission with theirs and going forward. So the biggest thing is everything is riding on the advocacy projects that are happening, what's happening currently on the ground. But what if the government falls? What do we do next? I think that's the future that is not talked about. Is there somebody to step in? Is there an organization that is structured enough who says, okay, let me go and do that? And I think that's what Ola's doing. We're preparing ourselves for that future, right? Like, for instance, Sena, I connected her with one really big organization through email that we got because of the work that we've been doing, in which they said, we want to know more specifically about Oromos. And that relationship, if anything happens in the future, if any doors open, that's where Allah is going to come in. So that future building is not just reacting to what's happening right now. We are building from the youth angle, the women angle, from the advocacy angle, and from the education angle. Those are our 4 main focuses on how to move forward back home and with the diaspora, and working with partners and creating those relationships. Because I think, I don't know if other people have noticed this, but when it comes to why Tigray is all over the news, it's because of the relationships they've created. It didn't happen overnight. Do almost have the same relationships with CNN and Yahoo News or all that stuff. We don't have that, and we've been busting our butts trying to create those relationships, and that takes time. Things take time, but things are getting done. I think that's what I want to say to the viewers.
Yeah, This will be the last round, everybody. So make sure you make a good use of your time. Say whatever you have to say. I know myself and Sena will be back with the advocacy team tonight. Our audience, please continue donating. If you can't donate, make sure you share this program or share our link so that your friends can donate. Please, all of you, take your time and say what you really need to say. Something that you don't want to take it with you, since this will be the last round. We're running out of time. Thank you.
All right, I believe I was next on the list, Tisha. Yeah, great. Yeah, so I guess what I would say to answer your initial question about what we should do as our power as an institution grows is I'll just quote the very famous line, with great power comes great responsibility. As we grow these relationships with other organizations and decision makers as a trustworthy source, we need to do our utmost to ensure that the information that we continue to give and receive is reliable. And a lot of that, of course, comes from Kana on the ground, but also from you as a community. We also need to continue to adhere to our mission, which is fundamentally an organization that respects and promotes human rights for all, especially the Aroma people, and continue to advocate on their behalf. And that's what we intend to do and what we will keep working towards.
Wow. I hope somebody will say what she just said in Ofano Romo. Kana and Sena, it's on you. This is really something that our audience need to hear. In Ofano Romo also.
Yeah, let me go in and I'll take from the refugee perspective. And after we have published that report on Yemen, we are receiving a lot of, concern from other Oromo refugees from living in the other continent and other region. Look at from the Somaliland, where Oromo refugees are forcefully separated with their children being in Somaliland, their parents being in Djibouti, which is painful, and their right are being violated, right to family and live with dignity. And where, for example, people are denied medical access, the right to medical access, the right to food, right to access to basic education. And this is now another new adventure where Allah is going to do. What to expect, for example, from our audience or our clients, our customers, let's say our people, is that to keep us feeding with accurate data. And I say this in Afan Oromo. Yo Allah jabate isani hojjat barbaaddanii data qabatam ta'ee fi ka barbaachisa ta'e yeroo nu erguudha. Fakkeenyaaf ogaa Dr. Tishoon waa'ee bommiin Wallaggaa kan dubbate uummati keenya kan naannoo sun jiranii, it's like yaa fudhannu waan kan we have accepted the slavery, or we have expected other people to violate our rights. We are not reporting, and gise do in kanan why isani dubanna data nu kenna information nu kenna, because information kijiba yokan information soba gafat available go to information soba fudhatama hin qabu. Facebook in Facebook in naanno mirgi nama irratti eegatu iddoo namni deemee baacoo koblaa taphatu. No, Facebook irraan namni sadii du'e negaaf maxxansina achitti lakkisnu si barbaanee namni du'e kun maqaan isa eenyu, ganda kamii, ganni isa kamii, hurmiin isaa hoo maal hojjetaa innis gaafannu hin beektu. Those are critical that as an organization kan jabeessuu fi fuulduratti ceesisuu fi volunteers arganna Itoophiyaa irraa volunteers namni 100 ol ni apply ji'a keessatti. Ogaatiin email eddeetti barreessite etu achumaan dhabama. Email sun gaafa guutu calla laal fakkaata. Maaliif jennaan ogaatiin information irraa gaafatu they will never reply in argatu. So it's painful. Organization kan fuuldura ceesimnee jabeessuu fi community nu waliin donation akka irraa ka Thanksgiving kan donate because we are accountable. You have to donate a report see kennina. We will be accountable and we will be able to give back a report to you on what we have done. Every Wednesday we are coming and giving you a brief, what we are doing. And you can always write to our email if you are donated. Write to us and ask us, because you have the right to demand for good, accountability. And we will do that. Yohan Kabiracho Barbade, Akuma Desina Nete. Look at it in Kenya, where Oromo refugees are. Karam Moyale Kanan Senani. Mooyalee fageenyi mooyalee Naayiroobii irra fagaatu kiiloomeetira 790 790. Hoggaa Naayiroobii dhuftu Oromoon mooyalee irraa Naayiroobii dhufuufu kidnapping yookaan tiraafik godhanii Naayiroobii irra fidanii namni tokko baqatee jiru doolaa 1,000 poolisaa kanfalee Naayiroobii baqattummaa sun galmaa ofiyyuu akkas facamee dhufaa. Amma Naayiroobii irraa mootummaan keenya yeroo hedduu nu baqataan barbaannu waa'ee security kanaa waa'ee terroristii kana jedhee magaalaa biraa kan Naayiroobii irraa kiiloomeetira 300 fagaatu akka baqataan galmaa'u. So literally namni meeshaan isaa irraa gubatee yookaan qabeenyi isaa irraa saamamee mooyalee dhufu, how come they will travel from Moyale a kilometer of 792 and then travel another kilometer, 300 kilometers inside Kenya, which is literally a border of Kenya within Uganda, to able to register himself or herself as asylum seekers. And sometimes they have children, sometimes they are expected mothers. They don't have language, the language barrier. Kenya official language is English and Kiswahili. And how it's a truth. And where now fraudsters, con men and con women come in and poach and spy on our people and eat, and they end up being mentally mental stress and other things happen. Look at what happened to Oromos in Kakuma refugees and the Dab. This is a new adventure Allah is trying to come in, and we need more information, more data, more support from our partners and also our audience. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I'm next. Or are you? You want to go?
Okay. It's you, Sena. You already did.
Okay, you did. So I'll say this is last round. So I'll say a few things, 3 things first. We have to understand. Let me say this. The first one is that tonight we'll be talking, because I see a lot of comments. There's a lot of complaint why we're talking in English. So this is, as you can imagine, we have Alyssa have not learned Afan Oromo yet. Her Afan Oromo class is not going great. I'm just kidding.
I'm a very slow learner.
But once Alyssa,
we don't believe that one, but all right.
Once Alyssa get her language down, then we're gonna try to do it in Afan Oromo. But on a serious note, so tonight, as Tisha say, we're gonna do with Oromo, Afan Oromo in the evening around 9 Eastern time. A little bit after that, we'll do with our task force. So and second, you have to understand that on online, you can see you have Oromos and then you have non-Oromos. Not just American, we have other nations that are working on us, because our Oromos is all over the world. So we have to really educate these people just as much as we educate Oromos. You have to tell people how to speak for themselves. They don't really know, even when they see a police. What do they say when they seek help from at the refugee camp? What they say? So there's so much need that that's some of the stuff we do. But so on the other hand, that I wanted to talk about is we are overwhelmed. Which issue? Our capacity is about 10 people roughly. We're talking about voice of 60+ million people. Hundreds of thousands of refugees between Kenya, Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, and Saudi. In Saudi alone, there are over 500,000 Oromo Ethiopians in Saudi. The issue is needed is do we write about the human rights violation, the bombing in Yolo, the bombing in Walaga, the killing, or the political prisoners, or the hunger in Bale, in Harar? Which one do we talk about? Or about the human rights violation that is happening in places like Yemen and Saudi? I mean, the issue is so much. We are, in addition to that, you have to understand, as Ayanto say, there are organizations that write to us, ask us occasions like, say, have you, can you guys help us with this? We write support letter. We don't demand that you are a member of OLA to get support letter, because if we know and provide to us the credible, reasonable fear that you have to be returned to Ethiopia. We have speaking for lots of people, that we don't just come out and say like, oh, Allah spoke for 5 people, therefore we need the money. It doesn't go like that. It's an institution, as I want to say that. An institution have to be maintained. So it is there's thousands of people who have watched this show. And I'm hopeful everybody will chip in, whether it's $5, because it's going to be matched. The need for Oromo, it is too much for us to even dare to address it. But because we are one of the very few, in fact, if any organization, because I know Alyssa knows this, a lot of organizations, whether it's International Red Cross, whether Doctors Without Borders, whether it's the UN, we are a lot of time the first people who tells them about the hunger in Oromia. When we met with the USA, when we met with so many organizations, they didn't even know because the government intentionally have kept the Oromo issue closed from the international community. So we are that first layer of information for our people. The information we put on, Alyssa mentioned, press release. We put press release, that way people know about the bombing. If we don't put the press release, yesterday when I met the State Department, they were like, can you guys give us any information about the bombing? The only thing I could find was there was one BBC in Afan Oromo, and then there was another one in the one we put out. These are the only two reports that there's not a lot of information that's being created. So we create information content, and we take that content and give it to where it needs to go. So because of things like that, I think it is so important. What we're doing, we are barely surviving. We're really, really surviving because the need is so great. Kana mentioned that there's so many refugees in Kakuma. They've been there for 10 years. They've been abused in there, but there's nowhere to go. We're about to meet with the UN organization. They want to know who we are, what we do, what we work with. In the cases that we bring, that is credible, something they will take it serious. So to do all of this work, we need to hire more people to cover refugee issue, to cover immigration issue, to cover the humanitarian issue, but the hunger, drought in Borno and places like this. So, but we are barely surviving. So I think what we're gonna do, as for your question, is as we get bigger, as we learn so much, is stabilize this organization. That way experts will come in, do better, Jim, because Oromos are not receiving any kind of service. Ethiopian government is an anti-Oromo government. They are not providing any type of service for Oromo people. Oromos are voiceless, invisible. So that is one thing that we would like to do. And I wanted to thank you guys, everybody. We came here for 1 hour, but we stayed for over an hour. So I wanted to thank you guys.
I'm going to keep you guys a little longer because I'm going to close with a shout out. But before I do the shout outs, I want to say a couple of things. One, about the English. The reason why we speak in English is not only because we have Alyssa here with us today, but also because we're trying to combat this echo chamber. Meaning just Oromos talking to Oromos. We wanted to talk to the international community. We're trying to let the international world know about Oromos. Nun waa'ee Oromoo sabni kaan akka baruuf gatii barbaadnuu fi Oromooffaanis haasoo jibbeetu hin ta'ini Ingiliffaanis haasanee fira keenyatti waan adda addaa himuuf gatii ta'eedhaa fi that's why we are speaking in English and not in Afaan Oromo. That's one thing that I want to say. The other thing I want to say is I don't remember the entire thing, but I want to say two things that from what Alyssa said that I thought is very critical that I want to repeat in Afaan Oromo. Tokko, waan nuni asitti odeeffannoo finnee namatti dhiyeessinu dhugaa ta'uu qaba. Dhugaa ta'uusaa qulqulleeffannee dhiyeessuu qabna. Gaafa akkasitti dhiyeessinu fudhatama iddoo haalleetu qabaannedha. Lammaffaa kaayyoon ollaa mirga saba namaa fi falmuu gatii ta'ee fi kaayyoo keenyatti yoo nuuni kaayyoo keenya itti cinneema kaayyoo keenya itti deemne omaan taanuu bakka barbaanne ni geenyaa kan jedhu dabarsite ergaa gaariidha. Since I kind of picked those two from what Alyssa said that I thought it was very, very important to say in Afaan Oromo, I will finish with shout outs. I want to give a shout out to all the donors that donated today and the rest of them that will donate for the rest of today. I will in advance give you a shout out. And I also want to shout out to our members that were constantly donate to this organization to keep this organization running. Last but not least, all our guests today, thank you for coming. And we invite you to come back again. I know Kana and me and Sena are always here. Alyssa and Ayantu, every Wednesday we are here at around 10 o'clock Eastern time. You guys are welcome to come in and just say hi to the audience. You are always invited. Open invitation. Nobody really gets this open invitation. You two are very special, so you guys get that. Any last words? But if not, I'm closing this session. Any Oromo word, Alyssa, that you picked up yet?
Unfortunately, no.
Well, I'll give you one.
I'm very slow.
Nagati. It means
Nagati.
There you go. Nagati.